Damien ruins horror movies.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Damien Ruins Horror Movies. I am Damien, and I hope it's not too dark in here. I got everything shut up because it's hot as shit outside. Except I got these blinds are open. That's why you can only see half my face. Tonight, for the second month of Jason, we are going to do Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, 1985, directed by Danny Steinman. This is the first movie that doesn't start with a recap, which is kind of refreshing. Tommy Jarvis is back and he's all grown up, but in the very opening is little Tommy, it's little Corey Feldman, and he's watching these guys dig up Jason, and then he wakes up and he's all grown up. Turns out it's just a nightmare. He has these weird dreams or hallucinations, flashbacks. I don't know what they are. They're kind of like Laurie Strode in Halloween, how she sees Michael Myers, or she thinks she sees him and then he's gone. It's that thing. Instead of going to Camp Crystal Lake, he is on his way to Pinehurst, a camp for crazy kids. They're not really crazy, but you know what I mean. Which is kind of like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 that came out 2 years later in 1987, The Dream Warriors, where they're in the hospital with all those crazy kids. Is Nightmare on Elm Street ripping off Friday the 13th? This is the second thing. Remember in Part 2 takes place 5 years after Part 1. Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th both are like that, only Friday the 13th came out first. Tommy gets dropped off by the health wellness van. I don't know exactly where he's coming from, but now he's off to camp. We meet Pam and Billy. Billy's not the guy driving, he's the guy riding shotgun, and he's kind of like kind of eyes Pam like, hey, gives her the little tongue, and drives off. Because like in the 80s, there was always that staple of the womanizing pervert guy who was just kind of, you know, you had your Sam Malones, your Dan Fieldings, your Herb Tarlicks, your Larrys. Larry? But even back then, it wasn't that was acceptable behavior. It was just, it was a character. Back then, that character was looked at as a schmuck. So that was nobody's favorite character, except that maybe the guy was kind of funny, but he was usually like the kind of the butt of the joke. Except Sam Malone, people actually liked on Cheers. He was kind of like he had that Darth Vader quality where people believed that there's still good in you, Sam. You're not really like that. Next, we meet Dr. Matt, and he explains to Tommy that this is kind of like the halfway house. This is his last step into re-entering society. Apparently, he's been institutionalized since he was 12, and I'm not sure how old anybody's supposed to be in this movie. I think they're supposed to be teenagers. They look like they're in the early 20s, mid-20s. And next, Tommy goes to his room and he meets Reggie, who's creeping around in his closet and scares him with the big rubber spider. The actor that plays Reggie also played Dudley in Different Strokes. Except he is not a nut, as he put it. He is there to visit his granddaddy because his granddad works there. He's the cook. Next, we meet Ethel and Junior. And Ethel is really pissed that this place is so close to her farm. And she lets everybody know about it.
And they're all crazy.
You tell Mom!
Would you shut the fuck up?
In front of the sheriff and everybody, Ethel says, if I catch any of these kids on my land, I'm going to shoot them. She even throws in a little bomb threat. The sheriff just kind of overlooks and takes off. Sorry, I'm doing like a roll call on this. It's just we meet everybody at separate times, and I want the characters to be known, even though they're not all important characters. Next, we meet Violet, Robin, and Joey. Joey's a big slow guy. He's not really a delinquent. He's just kind of like an overgrown kid. And the two girls blow him off, so he decides he's going to go bug Vic. And Vic's this angry, psychotic-looking guy that looks like he should be locked up. And he shouldn't have an axe that he has that he's chopping wood with. And Joey starts asking him questions and bugging him, and he wants to be left alone. So finally, he flips out, and he takes the axe and just starts hacking Joey up right in front of everybody. Everybody's like, what the fuck? And he kills him. So the cops come back out. And we get the little Joey backstory. The backstory on Joey is his mom died during birth, giving birth to him. And his dad just bailed. So he's been living from home to home his whole life. Until now. One of the paramedics uncovers his body, and it's just another day in the office for him. But the paramedic next to him, Roy, kind of like freaks out. He's just kind of visibly uncomfortable. Not even so much disgusted, just like it's like he's never seen a dead body before. And it's nighttime, and we meet Vinny and Pete, two Italian douchebags who really have nothing to do with this story. They're just Jason's first kills, unless you count the two guys at the beginning of the movie that Tommy's watching when he's Corey Feldman. But I don't know if that really even happened, so I'm not counting it. I'm counting these guys' first kills. And at breakfast the next morning, we finally meet the rest of the gang. Now we officially meet Eddie and Tina, and we also meet Jake. And Eddie triggers Tommy by scaring him. The scare bothered him a little bit, but then he starts kind of touching him, and Tommy just freaks out and beats the shit out of him. The cops find Vinny and Pete's bodies, and it's official. There is a killer on the loose. And then it's nighttime again. If it seems like I'm going fast, it's because this movie is fairly fast-paced. Because all this stuff is happening, and we're about 30 minutes in. Billy goes to a diner where he's picking up his girlfriend Lana because her shift is over. Diner's closed up. She's gonna change her clothes, and we get some boobage. And then when she's coming out of the bathroom where she changes her clothes, we get a little unnecessary cat scare.
Girl, you are so hot.
In a diner, and then they get killed. And now at 2 kills, the sheriff thinks it's Jason Voorhees. The next day, Tina and Eddie sneak off to have some sex. Fun fact, Tina is played by Deborah Voorhees, Jason's sister in real life. We get a little more boobage, and we get 2 more deaths. Have you noticed? I guess it's kind of soon to tell, but all the deaths are happening in 2s so far. Pam and Tommy take Reggie to go visit his brother. His brother's played by the guy that plays Spider in Return of the Living Dead.
You're gonna get it, bitch.
While Pam is meeting Spider and Spider's girlfriend Anita, and Reggie's with her, Tommy waits back at the truck, but he gets out and Junior comes up and scares him, which triggers him. So he beats the shit out of Junior, but then Pam comes and breaks it up. So far, Tommy is 2-0. Tommy and Reggie and Pam leave, and Anita and Demon get killed. This movie does kind of go beat by beat by beat. I mean, it is kind of just like this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens. That's why if it feels like I'm just like, then this happened, then this happened, then it was night, then it was morning, then it was day, then it's the next day. It's kind of how the movie goes. It's not bad when you're watching it, but now that I'm explaining it, it feels really like I'm reading a list. They get back to camp, and now it's dark. And I guess it was dark when they got to Reggie's brothers. But Dr. Matt is missing because Dr. Matt went looking for Tina and Eddie, and he hasn't returned yet. So Pam decides, you guys all stay here, and I'm going to go look for Dr. Matt. And then Junior and Ethel get killed. And now we hit the 1 hour mark, and it's kind of become a pattern in these Friday the 13th movies that we spend a good hour watching him kill non-essential characters. Then in the last 30 minutes, he's got to kill everybody else before the movie ends. So if you thought it was going fast before, it's about to go faster. But first, there's more boobage. Then Jake and Robin get killed. And Violet could have shown Crispin Glover some dance moves. But instead, she gets killed. Reggie wakes up and goes into Tommy's room and discovers that that's where all the bodies have been stashed. Freaks out a little bit, and then Pam comes walking in, so he shows her, and she's like, oh shit. Because in 80s slasher movies, the slasher usually kills all the bodies and stashes them somewhere. And usually about that time, he comes out and explains his whole plan and why he's doing it, and the killer's revealed. But in this one, in the movies when it's like a franchise and you know who the killer is, that doesn't really happen because it's like, you know it's Jason. Or you know it's Freddy. It's not like somebody comes out and sort of like, It's not really Freddy doing it. It was me the whole time. It's not a whodunit like a lot of slashers are. Whodunits are only done really in the first movie. After that, you kind of know what's going on. Now you're just following the killer's wild adventures. But then Jason shows up, so they make a run for it. While they're running, they discover Matt's body pinned to a tree, and then they get separated. And Jason is still after Pam. And as he hunts her down, they get to an old barn, and Reggie comes out on the tractor and he hits Jason and knocks him down. Somehow Jason is reacting more human than usual in this film than he normally does. They should have called this Friday the 13th. Bitch ass Jason. Pam and Jason square off in a chainsaw machete duel until her chainsaw runs out of gas. But luckily, Tommy shows up right then, which distracts Jason as he goes and attacks Tommy and slashes it. Reggie and Pam make a run for it, but they go up to the top of the barn, which kind of feels like the ending of part 2. And eventually, after a big struggle, Tommy kills Jason, which leads to our big reveal because the hockey mask comes off and we see Jason's face. It's not Jason. So forget everything I just said about knowing who the killer is, because we got a plot twist here. It's not Jason. Who is it? It's Roy. Why is it Roy? Well, we find out the big Roy reveal. Roy is Joey's dad, and seeing Joey's dead body triggered him. He just couldn't handle seeing the corpse of his son that he abandoned and never gave a shit about and was never there for. It was too traumatic for him, so he went on this killing spree. Didn't see that coming. Although when I watched it again, they do kind of set Roy up to be kind of odd. If you watch Roy, knowing that when you watch Roy, you can kind of see it coming. But if you don't know, at least for me, I didn't see it coming. I wasn't expecting. I had no reason to think there was going to be a plot twist in this movie. And the plot twist I was expecting was going to be that it would be Tommy that was doing the killing. Because that was the other plot twist. Tommy, this whole time, he's been having the flashbacks. He's been acting weird. He's never around when people are getting killed. And then we find out it's Roy the whole time. But then they're in the hospital and Tommy wakes up. He has a hallucination of Jason. Then he goes to his drawer in the hospital and he opens it and there's a hockey mask in it. So he puts it on. And now he's Jason and he kills Pam. I guess because he kills her twice. He wakes up and kills her and it's a dream. And then he makes it sound like he broke out through the window. And so she comes in to check on him and he kills her again. Can Friday the 13th just give us a clear ending? I mean, I understand setting up a sequel, that's fine. But give us an ending that makes sense. Because every ending so far has been okay, so did that happen? Was there really a kid in the lake? Was there... It's always something weird that happens. They gotta throw some weird twist that doesn't make any fucking sense. The Badass Award would have gone to Tommy, but Tommy turned bad. So that's a rule breaker. If you're the bad guy, you can't be the badass because the bad guy doesn't have to follow any rules. He can just kill as many people. If you can kill a lot of people while following the rules, then you're a badass. Something like that. Instead, it goes to Reggie. And he also gets the Last Brother Standing Award because he risked his life to save Pam when he could have just kept running. And he hit Jason with a tractor, even though those two events were the same thing. But props to Tommy, though. He was 4-0 with 2 wins by stoppage and 2 by death. He's 5-0 if you count the last movie. What did we learn? Survival tips. Don't shit in the woods. Don't fuck in the woods. And don't eat too many enchiladas. If you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and share. You can do all 3. Any of those things helps. Stay cool out there, stay hydrated, and go watch some movies. I'll see you next time.